The first quality of becoming wise, and it's very interesting which quality that they choose. Amanitvam. Amanitvam, humility, having no pride. It's interesting, in chapter 12, the earlier chapter, they also gave 35 qualities of a person of devotion. And the first quality that they chose was hatred to no being. So imagine they're talking about a devotee of God, but they put it in negative. Not how many you love, but where is the exception? Hatred to no being. Similarly here, it says having no pride. We translate it as humility, but it's saying having no pride. Why is it put in the negative? There's a saying, the strength of a chain is its weakest link. So our pride comes from, we're very good. I love so many people. I love you and you and you and you and you, and we feel proud of it. But the test of your devotion is the one person you don't love so much. Mother-in-law, sister-in-law. That one person is the test of your devotion. That's what we've got to correct. Similarly, it's not all the other aspects that you are humble about. It is the one part that you are proud of. That is the place to check. When you have knowledge, you will not have pride. Pride means you feel superior. You feel better than others. But knowledge shows us that we all have different talents. Ralph Waldo Emerson, he says, talents differ, all is well and wisely put. If I cannot carry forests on my back, neither can you crack a nut. So the mountain and the squirrel, that's the poem that he writes, are having a quarrel. And the mountain, because it's vast and it's big, it says, I'm great. The squirrel says, I'm small, but that's my talent. He says, yes, you can carry forests on your back, but hey, mountain, can you crack a nut? So similarly with us, you might be able to cook a great meal, run a beautiful yoga session, but can you do something different? Can you handle logistics? Can you handle a household? Can you handle a business? Each one's got a different role. So when you are proud of your role, you fail to see the orchestra of life. Each one has a part to play. Imagine you're listening to an orchestra, you're listening to Beethoven or the Blue Danube by Johann Strauss, and you're listening to it, and imagine if in the orchestra, the violin and the trumpet are competing. Because each one says, I'm better, so they're competing with each other. What will happen? It will sound catastrophe, terrible, discordant. But this is what we are doing in life. We are competing with each other, claiming superiority because in a particular aspect of life, we are better in that aspect. What about all the other aspects? So a knowledgeable person understands how this cosmos works. It's not a chaos. It's an orchestra. Each one's got a role. Who is superior? The lion or the deer? Without the deer, what will the lion eat? Will it become vegan? It can't even become vegan. Without the deer, the lion is nothing. What about the other way around? The deer without the lion. What will happen?
Population will increase.
Population will increase, yes, and then? All the food will be gone. So you see how nature puts this whole cycle in harmony. There's the right amount of carnivores to the right amount of herbivores to the right amount of vegetation. But you play with that proportion, one is superior than the other, you wipe out the ecosystem. Wow. A knowledgeable person understands the balance, understands the higher intelligence, is humble. The trouble comes when we have half knowledge. When we have half knowledge, not fully baked, that's when you claim to be, I'm great. But the more you get into a subject, the more you realize how much we don't know, how much better we can be. And there's power in that. There's power in that in the sense, you understand how much there is to learn, there is no need to be proud. And what is the problem when you are arrogant or when you claim, I know? What's wrong with that? Exactly. As soon as you say, I know, blocked. You don't receive anymore. The shutters to learning are closed. As soon as you say, I know, then there's no communication after that. And how often do we say this with our partner? I know.
Yeah.
Means there's no conversation after that. It means I know exactly what you're going to say. Okay, then why have another dialogue? When we listen. Does anyone know what is on the pendant of this mala? Ganesha. Do you know what it symbolizes, Ganesha? Sorry? Knowledge. It's exactly this person, these 20 qualities. A person of wisdom. So how do you show a person of wisdom who is humble, listens, talks less, elephant head, very large ears, small mouth? So see, big stomach is because it digests all experiences. If we go into the symbolism of Ganesha, we'll need one more hour. But these key aspects, humble. So we've got to examine the areas where we have pride. And we don't have to dismiss it, but just understand, this is my talent. I offer it in service to the world, but not with a feeling of superiority, because others have other talents. This is just my part to play. That's it. Having no pride. Isaac Newton, he says, if I have seen further. So Isaac Newton is a great scientist, contributed so much. He says, he feels no pride. He says, if I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. Have any of you studied the Upanishads? I know our e-learning students have. The Upanishads, highest philosophy. Does anyone know the author of the Upanishads? Anonymous. There's no author. And if you go to the Upanishads, they will say, so have we heard from the masters. So to arrogate and say, this is my commentary of the Bhagavad Gita, shows how little your knowledge is. This has been passed on. I am just an instrument. You go to the origin of the philosophy, they say, so have we heard from our masters. No arrogation whatsoever. There's a quote by Steve Jobs. And great thinker, great visionary. But he writes down in one of his personal notes, he says, I did not discover the language. I did not discover the glasses of which I'm reading. I did not discover the programming language. So when you look at all the other contributions that went on behind the scenes, for you to do whatever you do, you realize, what is there to be proud of? You know the pride a mother has when she has a baby. Baby comes out and says, my son. Not realizing, what have you really done? If you think about it, it's all these unknown forces for the sperm to meet the egg. Incredible. We're not in control. So many different aspects going, and then the feeding process, the growing process, how the one cell becomes two cells, replicates. And yet we have the vanity when the baby comes out of us, say, my baby. What in the baby is yours? Having no pride. And it's not a false modesty. It is from knowledge of understanding the total picture. So if you understand the total picture, there's no pride. In the academy, we have the boys' hostel, it's called Viveka, knowledge. Girls' hostel is called Vinaya, humility. Viveka and Vinaya go together. If you're truly knowledgeable, you will be humble. That's the idea. If you find somebody very arrogant, what do you understand? Not very knowledgeable. The knowledge is not fully digested. Okay, fine. That's it. You find when people get power, how they start walking differently. Even if they get power in the gym, they start walking differently. You know? As if their arms are too big to walk next to them. They must walk like this. But why do you have to change? You've got to show your power. Those with real power don't need to show it. I'm sure most of you have been to India or have lived in India. Now it's much better, but before, if a politician is traveling, all roads closed, there's a full entourage, cars before, cars after, blinkers going on. Then in Europe, in some countries like Finland, my teacher was traveling, in front of him, in the queue, is the Prime Minister. Standing for check-in. In New Zealand, at the government office, New Zealand president is going to pay his parking fine. Look at that. What is culture? What is that feeling? And no doubt you can do things for convenience, no problem, but the feeling, and that's what we're attacking. Pride, no pride. I just have a part to play. What is a president without the people? What is the people without the leader? All have a part to play. This is the first quality.